The city never sleeps, but sometimes it dreams in shadows. On a rainy Manhattan morning, a man with worn shoes and a mop in his hand noticed something that could have ended a life in seconds. His name was Michael Hayes, a janitor most people never saw, yet in that moment, he became the only shield between death and survival. Across the glossy marble lobby, Claire Donovan, the commanding CEO of Donovan Global, reached for her morning coffee, elegant, composed, unaware of the danger inches away. Michael's instincts screamed. His pulse raced. One step, one word, could change everything. And in that instant, he shouted, loud enough to cut through the hum of the building. "Don't drink that coffee." The cup trembled in Claire's hand. And so began a story that would expose betrayal, stir old wounds, and bind two broken lives into something neither expected, something resembling family. Michael's voice echoed in the lobby, startling not just Claire but everyone within earshot. Executives froze, receptionists exchanged uneasy glances, and the security guard raised a brow. Claire's eyes narrowed at him, equal parts confusion and authority. "Excuse me?" she asked, her voice calm yet edged with steel. Michael walked briskly toward her, every step deliberate. "Ma'am, don't drink it. Something's wrong." His voice was low, urgent, carrying the tone of someone who had seen danger before. The cup still hovered in Claire's grip. For a split second, her pride wrestled with her instinct. Why was she listening to a janitor, a man she had probably passed dozens of times without truly seeing? But something in his eyes, fierce, trained, unwavering, forced her to pause. Michael took the cup from her hand gently but firmly. He sniffed the surface, then tilted it, watching the liquid cling unnaturally to the edges. His brow tightened. "This isn't just coffee." Claire folded her arms. "And you know this because—" He hesitated, then said quietly, "Army Corps of Engineers. I've seen chemicals like this before. Ethylene glycol. Sweet smell, slow death." Her stomach turned. A poison? In her morning routine? Her fingers tingled as though she had already consumed it. Claire forced herself to steady her breathing, her CEO mask sliding back into place. "Security, send this cup to the lab immediately. Nobody says a word about this outside this room." As guards moved, Claire studied Michael. The way he scanned the room, alert, protective. Not the posture of a janitor. Something deeper. She wanted answers, but for now she owed him her life. Still, she didn't thank him. Not yet. The rest of Claire's morning blurred into calculated silence. Meetings ran as usual, deals were signed, but her mind replayed the coffee cup. The possibility that someone within her empire wanted her dead gnawed at her, even as she smiled across the boardroom table. When the day ended, she asked Michael to meet her privately. He entered her office hesitantly, mop set aside, posture respectful yet unshaken. "You saved my life today," Claire admitted, the words awkward in her mouth. Gratitude was not a language she spoke often. Michael shrugged. "Just doing what I had to." She studied him across the polished mahogany desk. "You're not just a janitor. Who are you really?" He hesitated, then offered pieces of truth. "I was an engineer. Army trained. Life didn't turn out the way I planned." Claire leaned back, intrigued but cautious. "And yet, you caught something my entire staff overlooked." Michael's eyes darkened. People see what they want to see. Sometimes they choose not to. For the first time in years, Claire felt something stir inside her, a flicker of vulnerability. If someone wanted her dead, the empire she had built wasn't as secure as she believed. And strangely, this man she barely knew seemed like the only person she could trust. Neither of them noticed the shadows watching from beyond the glass doors. Far down the hall, Ethan Cross, her ambitious COO, smirked faintly. His plan had failed today, but he was patient. Very patient. That night, Claire sat alone in her penthouse, the city lights sprawling beneath her. For all her power, she had never felt so small. She thought of Michael Hayes, the stranger who had stopped her from sipping death. And she realized, for the first time, that the walls she built around her weren't as unbreakable as she believed. The following morning, Claire walked into Donovan Global with a calm expression that masked the storm inside her. Her tailored navy suit projected the same authority she always carried, but beneath it, her mind was racing. If Michael was right, and the lab confirmed it hours later, that her coffee had indeed been poisoned, then someone inside her empire wanted her gone. She replayed the faces around her, loyal assistants, seasoned board members, her COO Ethan Cross, whose ambition always ran just a shade too sharp. The thought made her skin prickle. She had built this company with precision, only to discover the foundation might be rotting from within. Michael, meanwhile, returned to his quiet work. Mop in hand, bucket rolling across the lobby tiles, he blended into the background as if nothing monumental had happened the day before. But inside, his heart hadn't settled. He had seen betrayal before, smelled danger before, and he knew this was only the beginning. That evening, Claire surprised him by finding him alone in the service corridor. Her heels clicked against the concrete floor, but her voice was softer than he expected. "I had the coffee tested," she said. "You were right." Michael's jaw tightened. "I figured." Claire exhaled, folding her arms. "Whoever did this, they're close. Too close. I can't trust anyone in my circle. Which leaves me with you." Michael frowned. "I'm just the janitor, Ms. Donovan. I'm not supposed to be in your circle either." She met his gaze, unflinching. "Yet you're the only one who saved me. Tell me something, Michael. Why did you recognize it so quickly? How do you know poisons like that?" For a moment, silence pressed between them. Then he sighed. "Because my wife was killed by it. Different form, same method. She tried to blow the whistle on a corporation years ago. They silenced her." His voice cracked, but he steadied it with military precision. "I knew the smell. I'll never forget it." Claire's throat tightened. She hadn't expected his story to bleed so close to hers. Suddenly, Michael Hayes was no longer just a man with a mop. He was someone scarred by the same ruthless forces that now circled her. That night, Michael returned to his modest apartment in Queens. His daughter, Lily, greeted him with the bright smile only a 10-year-old could carry. She had his dark hair, her late mother's wide eyes, and a resilience that seemed far too heavy for someone so young. "Daddy, you're late again," she said, hugging him tightly. Michael forced a smile, ruffling her hair. "Just work, kiddo. How was school?" As she chattered, he sat at the small kitchen table, listening, but his mind drifted. Every time Lily laughed, he was reminded of Emma, his late wife, the woman who had tried to do the right thing and paid the ultimate price. He couldn't let history repeat itself. If Claire Donovan was in danger, ignoring it wasn't an option. Meanwhile, across Manhattan, Claire sat in her penthouse, sipping wine but tasting only unease. Ethan Cross had lingered too long in her office that day, his smile too smooth, his compliments too rehearsed. The man was her second in command, groomed by her late father to take the reins if she ever faltered. And yet, she couldn't shake the sense that his ambition had curdled into something dangerous. Her phone buzzed with a message from Michael. "We need to talk. Tomorrow." Quietly. The next morning, they met in a nearly empty diner on the Lower East Side. The smell of frying bacon and burnt coffee hung in the air. Here, away from Donovan Global's marble walls, they spoke like equals. "Whoever tried to poison you won't stop," Michael said, his voice steady. "They'll come back. You need to be ready." Claire leaned forward. "And what makes you so sure?" "Because I've seen men like this before," he said, eyes darkening. "They don't leave loose ends. They don't give second chances." Claire studied him, her guarded expression softening. "And what about you, Michael? Why risk helping me? You could walk away, go back to your life." He paused, glancing out the window where Lily waited in the car, sketching in her notebook. His voice lowered. "Because I already lost someone once. I won't stand by while it happens again." In that diner, the unlikeliest of alliances began to form, not just between a CEO and a janitor, but between two broken souls who understood loss more deeply than they cared to admit. The boardroom at Donovan Global gleamed with glass and chrome, but Claire saw nothing but suspicion in its reflections. Ethan Cross sat at the far end of the table, his tailored suit crisp, his smile sharper than the edge of the glass walls. He presented quarterly numbers with ease, his voice confident, almost soothing, but Claire could feel the undercurrent. He was performing for the board, tightening his grip while she silently fought to keep her composure. Her eyes drifted to Michael, who had slipped quietly into the back of the room disguised as maintenance staff. Most didn't even notice him standing there, but his watchful gaze never left Ethan. Michael had insisted on being present, and though Claire had resisted at first, she now found comfort knowing he was near. Ethan clicked through slides, his tone honeyed. "As you can see, Donovan Global is thriving. But for us to reach new heights, we need bold leadership. Leadership unafraid of risks." His glance toward Claire lasted a fraction too long. Leadership prepared for the future. The words were subtle, but the board members exchanged looks. Ethan was planting seeds, hinting at her downfall, even as she sat at the head of the table. Claire forced a small smile, hiding her fury. After the meeting, Michael caught up with her in the executive lounge. She leaned against the marble counter, pouring water with trembling hands. "He's circling you," Michael said bluntly. Claire met his eyes. He practically declared war in front of the board. But I can't move without proof. Michael lowered his voice. Then we get proof. Whatever he's hiding, we find it. And we use it. Her instinct screamed at her to keep her distance, to protect herself. But there was something grounding about Michael, the way he spoke with no agenda, no performance. He wasn't after her position or her wealth. He just wanted the truth. That night, they began their investigation. Michael used his access to the underbelly of the building, basements, service routes, storage rooms rarely entered by executives. Claire used her authority to pull files, invoices, and financial statements. Together, they began piecing together a puzzle that pointed to fraud, sabotage, and missing millions. In the silence of her office, surrounded by papers and laptop screens, Claire looked up at Michael and said quietly, "Why do I feel like I can breathe around you, when everyone else suffocates me?" Michael's lips curved faintly, but his eyes stayed serious. "Because I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not after what you have." For the first time in years, Claire allowed herself to smile, not the practiced one she wore for the board, but a real one. It was small, fleeting, but it mattered. Michael returned home late that evening, exhaustion etched into his face. Lily was still awake, sketchbook open, waiting for him on the couch. "You promised you'd be home earlier," she said softly, not angry, just disappointed. Michael sat beside her, pulling her close. "I know, Bug. I'm sorry. Things are complicated at work." She tilted her head, studying him with the same keen eyes her mother once had. "Is it dangerous?" He hesitated. He wanted to protect her from the weight of it, but he had promised himself never to lie to her. "Maybe. But I'll be careful. I always am." Lily reached for his hand. "Mom always said you could fix anything. Just don't forget you still have me to come home to." The words pierced him deeper than any enemy could. He hugged her tightly, silently vowing not to let her down. Meanwhile, in her penthouse, Claire stood at the window staring at the glittering skyline. For years, she had convinced herself she didn't need anyone, that power and control were enough to protect her from loneliness. But the day's events clung to her. The way Michael looked at Ethan with steady defiance, the way he risked his job to watch over her, it lingered. Her phone buzzed. A message from Michael appeared. "I found something. Tomorrow, basement level. Midnight." She typed back one word, "I'll be there." The next night, the two of them descended into the bowels of Donovan Global. Dust and shadows lingered where light rarely reached. Michael pried open a locked cabinet hidden behind old storage crates. Inside were folders, USB drives, and receipts, records of offshore transfers, backroom deals, and contracts under Ethan Cross's signature. Claire's breath caught. This wasn't just corporate greed. It was treason against her company, her family's legacy. She looked at Michael, her eyes blazing. "This is it. This is the proof." Michael's jaw set. "Then it's only a matter of time before he comes after us both." And as the echo of their footsteps faded through the basement halls, neither noticed the small, red light of a hidden camera blinking quietly in the shadows. The morning after the basement raid moved like a slow current through Donovan Global, everyone pretending business as usual while something under the surface churned. Claire kept the folder from the hidden cabinet in a locked drawer. She had the list of offshore transfers, the contracts with shell companies, the signatures that matched Ethan's handwriting. For the first time in a long time, she slept without the constant buzz of perfectionism, only to wake with a new, gnawing dread. Michael arrived early. He was quieter than usual. Lily's school schedule meant he'd dropped her at the bus stop before dawn. He and Claire met in the service elevator, two people who now carried the same dangerous secret. "We can't take this straight to the board. Ethan controls half the channels." Claire's voice was low. "We need a clean chain of custody for everything. Corroboration. Backups." Michael nodded. "There's one more place I wanted to check, old maintenance invoices. If Ethan's been funneling money, someone signed for deliveries. People with names." He thought of Emma, how she'd once pored over audit trails until the end. He owed her this. They worked quietly all day, copying files, encrypting USBs, and planting decoys so the office cameras would think nothing had been disturbed. For a while, it felt like a small war zone, the two of them against an unseen front. They joked once, small brittle laughs, about coffee that did not attempt to kill them. It helped a little. Then at noon the world exploded on their phones. Headlines. Push alerts. A video clip that had been edited into a 10-second scandalous loop. Claire and a janitor were shown in the basement moving folders and plugging in a flash drive. The caption screamed, CEO caught stealing corporate files? Insider coup. Within 30 minutes, every desk in Donovan Global had the same scarlet notification. The PR team swarmed. Board members called. A handshake Claire had made the day before felt like a noose. Michael's stomach dropped. He knew that camera. The tiny red light he'd seen in the corner of the basement. Someone had recorded them. But the clip was a lie of omission. It showed only the act of removing files. It made no mention of the hidden ledger, the offshore accounts, the actual wrongdoing. It was framed so it looked like Claire and the janitor were conspiring to steal company secrets for some unknown personal gain. Within an hour, the board demanded Claire be temporarily suspended pending an internal investigation. Ethan's face was everywhere in the meeting, concerned, controlled, a portrait of wounded loyalty. He delivered a quiet ultimatum: step down willingly, or the board would vote. Claire felt hollow. The empire she'd built was undercut not by money, by perception. By a single clip that controlled narrative and made the truth invisible. At home, Lily had already seen it. A classmate had shown her the video during recess. The world was small enough for gossip to reach even the edge of Queens where they lived. She came home with heavy steps, eyes that tried and failed to be brave. "Daddy, is it true?" she asked, voice small. Michael felt rage, then a cold, focused clarity. "No," he said. "But right now we need to be smart. Don't talk to anyone about this at school. Just keep drawing." He swallowed the tremor in his voice. Lily nodded, but clung to him as if his arms were the only map of safety left. Claire's phone buzzed incessantly. Investors, reporters, an anonymous tipster offering to sell proof against her. She felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with corporate balance sheets. For years she had built armor. Now she had to take it off in front of a stadium of cameras. When they met that evening in the diner, safe for now, Michael forced himself to be methodical. They used the camera. They edited the context. Whoever released the clip has inside access to surveillance and IT. Claire tapped her temple. Ethan's reach, she knew, ran into IT and security. He's not just ambitious. He's clearing the board for a takeover. "How do we prove editing?" Claire asked. Michael slid a small, grimy USB across the table, the one he'd brought from the cabinet but hadn't yet decrypted. "This drive has the raw files. I can carve metadata out. If it's been altered, we'll find traces, timestamps, error logs, hash mismatches. My tools can recover what the producer tried to bury." They worked until the diner closed. Michael put his engineering mind to the problem. File headers, corrupted sectors, the fingerprints of an edit. He was hungry, tired, and furious, but methodical. Claire watched him with a mix of admiration and something softer. Relief that someone could look at a mess and find a seam. At 2 a.m, Michael leaned back and exhaled. They manipulated the clip. But they missed something, an auto-generated audit stamp from the security system that shows the camera feed was transferred through a machine with a specific network name. That machine belongs to the security admin, Jared Locke. Jared is on Ethan's payroll. Claire's hand found his across the table. "So we have a thread. We follow Jared, we find Ethan's hand." The relief was small and brittle, but real. They now had not just a suspicion, but a lead that could connect the doctored footage to Ethan's inner circle. They had to act fast, but carefully. If they moved recklessly, Ethan could bury the trace. As they left the diner, Michael took out his phone. A text blinked from an unknown number. "Stop digging. For her sake." Attached was a photo of Lily, taken from across the school playground. Cold sank into their bones. Claire's face hardened. No more half measures. For Lily. For Emma's memory. For the company Claire had inherited and made her own. "Tomorrow," Claire said, voice steady, "we go to Jared's server. We don't go alone." Michael nodded. He thought of his daughter tucked into bed, humming as she always did. He thought of Emma's notebook, unfinished plans for exposing corruption, and felt the line between past and present pull taut. They had a lead. They had a target. And now, they had a threat that had crossed the only line Michael would not tolerate, Lily's safety. They stepped into the night side by side, two people from different worlds walking the same dangerous road. The night air outside Donovan Global felt heavy with tension, as though the entire city sensed what was about to unfold. Inside a dimly lit office, Claire and Michael sat shoulder to shoulder at the glowing screen of a borrowed forensic workstation. On it scrolled endless lines of data, IP addresses, timestamps, and server logs. Somewhere in those numbers lay the proof that could expose Ethan Cross and free them both from the shadow of suspicion. Michael leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. There. See this transfer ID? It's marked with a hash signature. That's Jared's machine, Loxis. The files were rerouted through his system before being leaked to the board. Claire's breath caught. So Ethan didn't just try to frame us. He used Jared as his pawn. They exchanged a look, part triumph, part exhaustion. For weeks, Ethan had been one step ahead. Now finally they had something solid. Something undeniable. The next morning, Claire summoned Jared to a secluded conference room under the guise of a routine security audit. Michael was already waiting inside. Jared walked in, shoulders tense, his eyes darting nervously between them. Claire slid a folder across the table, printed logs, screenshots, and time-stamped file trails. "We know what you did," she said quietly, her voice sharp as glass. Jared's face drained of color. I don't know what this is." Michael rose slowly, towering over him. His voice was steady, controlled, but brimming with suppressed anger. "Don't lie. The metadata doesn't bend. You funneled the doctored video through your system, and Ethan paid you for it. How much was your loyalty worth? Was it enough to put a child in danger?" At Lily's mention, Jared flinched. His lips trembled as he lowered his head. "I didn't know. He said it was just politics, leverage. He swore no one would get hurt." Claire's tone softened, but only slightly. "You've seen what he's capable of. You know about the poisoning. If you want any chance of saving yourself, you need to come clean, sworn testimony, the raw files, everything." After a long silence, Jared nodded. "Okay, I'll talk. I'll give you everything." With Jared's confession and digital records in hand, they were ready for the final step. But Ethan, sensing his empire slip away, wasn't going to surrender quietly. That night, as Michael walked Lily home from school, he noticed headlights trailing them, stopping whenever they stopped. A black SUV idled too long at the corner. Michael's gut twisted. Years of military instinct screamed at him. He tightened his grip on Lily's hand. Back at the apartment, Michael triple-locked the doors, pacing as Lily sat on the couch clutching her stuffed rabbit. Claire rushed over minutes later, her face pale at the sight of them. "He's escalating," Michael muttered. "He knows we're close." Claire looked at Lily, fear flashing in her usually unshakable eyes. In that moment, the walls between CEO and janitor, power and humility, dissolved. They were just three people trying to survive against a predator. "Then tomorrow," Claire said firmly, "we end this." The following day, Ethan called an emergency board meeting. His plan was clear: frame Claire as a liability, strip her of power, and seize the company. He walked into the boardroom with his usual polished charm, but his confidence wavered when he saw Claire already seated at the head of the table, and Michael at her side. "Thank you all for coming," Ethan began, his voice dripping with feigned authority. "I believe it's time we address the dangerous behavior that has compromised Donovan Global's reputation." Claire cut him off. "No, Ethan. It's time we address yours." She clicked a remote. The wall screen lit up with Jared's signed statement, a video recording of his confession, and raw forensic logs displaying the server transfers. Gasps rippled through the board members. Ethan's smile faltered. "This," Claire continued, her voice clear and unwavering, "is proof that Ethan Cross orchestrated fraud, sabotage, and attempted harm, not just to me, but to this company's integrity. He even endangered the life of my employee's child." Michael added, his deep voice steady. "The police have copies. The DA has copies. If you doubt what you're seeing, you'll find out soon enough in court." Ethan's mask shattered. He slammed his fist on the table, but the room had already turned against him. Within minutes, security entered and escorted him out, his protests echoing uselessly down the hall. Justice, long overdue, had finally caught up with him. When it was over, Claire stepped outside into the crisp afternoon air. For the first time in months, she felt the weight lift from her shoulders. Michael stood beside her, Lily tugging at his sleeve. "Is it really done?" Lily asked softly. Michael knelt, brushing her hair back. "It's done, sweetheart. He can't hurt us anymore." Claire's eyes glistened as she looked at them, father and daughter, bound together by love and resilience. She realized that through the chaos, they had given her something she never knew she needed: family. In the weeks that followed, Ethan faced charges of fraud, corporate sabotage, and attempted poisoning. Jared entered witness protection, his testimony sealing the case. Claire reinstated as CEO, but this time, she vowed to lead differently, with balance, compassion, and trust. Michael, with Claire's support, enrolled in an engineering recertification program, funded by a scholarship created in Emma's memory. It was a way to honor his late wife while building a future for Lily. And one quiet evening, as the sun set over the city, Claire joined Michael and Lily at their small kitchen table. They shared laughter over a simple meal, the warmth of belonging filling the room. For once, there were no secrets, no masks, only the fragile, beautiful truth of a new beginning.